Breaking news, the Pope has died. On a completely unrelated note, now back to the actual subject of the video. The Pope has died, which means that the next thing that's going to happen, just by the way, party poppers, you can get a big pack of them on Amazon. So just that's why that was there, for literally no other reason. Anyways, you can, I regret so many things sometimes. The next thing that's going to happen is the Catholic Church is going to try to decide who is going to be the next Pope, who is going to be the next Pontifex Maximus, who is going to be the next Universal Bishop, who is going to be the next Vicarus Filii Dei, the Speaker of Christ, who is going to become the next Holy Father. So as the apostate Church of Rome decides that it is going to continue its nonsensical evil tradition of trying to reduce the sufficiency of God, they will try to find another replacement that is supposedly a successor of Peter, claiming that Peter was in fact the first Bishop of Rome, which is absolutely not true historically or biblically. Peter was never a Bishop of Rome. Peter was never a bishop. The only one of the disciples who became a bishop was James. The position of the Pope is not only blasphemous and heretical, but it actually came from the Roman emperors, who would call themselves the Pontifex Maximus, which meant that they were the bridge between God and men. So you have the Pope today that they still call the Roman Pontiff, because they are going off of the same terminology where the Roman emperors, claiming to be part God, were the bridge between God and men for their people, which is why people would have to go before the Roman emperor and declare Kaiser Kyrios, which is to say that the Caesar is Lord. The Christians, of course, at the time, they were refusing this, and they said, we cannot say that because only Christ is Lord. And as a result of that, the Roman government would execute them, often gladiator style. And so as we get through history, in the 7th or 8th century, you see a pope who is trying to push the power of the pope further. The first actual pope being Gregory I, or Gregory the Great, in about 590. He was the first one that they started to try to associate with being the universal bishop. And he himself actually said anyone who is called or wishes to be so called the universal bishop is in his prime a forerunner of Antichrist. There is so much of this. Now, I make bad decisions. I should not have done that. My goodness, it's everywhere. But this following pope in the 7th or 8th century, I'll have the actual thing pulled up on screen so that is clarified for you. He tried to declare that Matthew 16:18 was Jesus making Peter the first pope. The church responded to that, saying that is absolutely nonsensical. You cannot possibly say that that is the interpretation of that verse. That is obviously incorrect. And that's the way it remained until in the 1800s. The Catholic Church officially declared that interpretation that it had previously said was erroneous and incorrect to be the only infallible interpretation of that verse, declaring that Peter was in fact the first pope. We see biblically that actually it was not him, it was Linus who was the first bishop of Rome, which they teach was the second bishop of Rome. Jesus himself is the rock. He is the Petra. He is the rock on which the Christian church was built. It had nothing to do with Peter. Peter was one of the 12, but Peter was not a bishop, he was not a pope, and Peter did not start the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church did not begin until around 340 and 380 AD, Anno Domini. And even at its origin, it was a Christian church. Then over time, it became heretical and apostate. See, eventually they reached a point of apostasy where they declared that you're not saved by grace through faith apart from works. They said that it is by grace through faith and works. So in other words, you have to do good and have faith in Jesus Christ in order to earn grace, in order to merit grace. And that is even clearly written in the Roman Catholic Catechism. Be it through their direct admission that they are meriting grace, or be it through the parts where they say things like water baptism is essential to be saved and necessary to merit that grace. But if it is by grace, then it cannot be based on works. Otherwise, grace would no longer be grace. See, the primary issue that Roman Catholicism has at the core center of its doctrine, of the core of its false gospel, is that the Bible teaches very plainly, very clearly, and very directly that you are saved by grace through faith apart from works, and that faith must be exclusively in Jesus Christ. Because if you think it is faith plus your works, then your faith isn't exclusively in Jesus, it is also in you. It is faith in Jesus and yourself to be good enough. But if you could be good enough, then Christ died for nothing. This is why the Roman Catholic Church is not a Christian church. And so in the next coming weeks, as they are finding out who is going to be the next Roman pontiff, this is where I would think that we are going to soon see the Antichrist being presented. And the reason for that is because the Antichrist is accompanied by something called the false prophet. And the false prophet is essentially this guy who's going to be put in a position where he is over fake Christians, essentially, and he is going to point to the Antichrist, say, look, this is a Jesus. And if you have the Pope, who people actually think is literally the speaker of God on earth, who whenever he is speaking ex cathedra, he is infallible. If that man speaking ex cathedra pointed at the Antichrist and said, look, that's Jesus, then all of the papists are going to follow the Antichrist, claiming that is Jesus' second coming. So I am a firm believer that the false prophet is going to be a pope. And I don't know where we are with end times. I don't know if any of that stuff is going to be happening. I am a premillennial, so I think it is still going to come. I think there's a tribulation that is still going to be approaching. However, I'm a historic premillennial. I don't think that there's a rapture, so I think that we're going to be here for all of it. And I just want you guys to be wary of this. Look at the signs, look at the things that are happening as they're coming up with this next pope. If things are going the way that they look like they're going, this could be the final pope. This could be the one who points to the Antichrist and says, that is the Messiah. And I could be completely wrong on that, but I don't think I am. See, I would switch completely from being a premillennial to being a post-millennial if three things happened in this country. If every single pew-pew related law in the United States disappeared off the books, if they were all eradicated and the Second Amendment was absolute, if that and the number one procedure that is performed by Planned Parenthood was abolished, basically just if those two things happened, then I would switch to being a post-millennial. But it would really seal the deal if those things happened, plus the Roman Catholic Church collapsed. I would 100% become a post-millennial because that would be evidence that God's kingdom on earth is actually growing here now in a beautiful way. But I do think that the tribulation still has to occur. I don't think it has already occurred. I think it is going to occur. And so a post-millennial is basically saying everything is going to persistently get better and better and better until we are there. And I'm just not there because of everything happening in this world. But if those three things happen, then I would 100%, boom, post-millennial immediately. But regardless, the Roman Catholic Church is not a Christian church. It is completely and totally apostate. And despite the joke that opened up this video with the confetti popper, I do not pray for anyone's death. I do not wish for anyone's death. I was never praying for this Pope's death or anything like that. I'm praying that before he finally took his last breath, that he actually put his faith in the real Christ alone. Even though he spent his entire life deceiving people and leading millions of people to hell, I still genuinely hope that he actually put his real trust in Jesus Christ and repented of Catholicism in his last moments of life. Let me know what you think about all this stuff that's going on. Follow me on X, YouTube, and Instagram. Support me over on Patreon. We do live Bible studies over there. Go to taco-talks.com if you want to buy shirts, hats, stickers, all the fun stuff, signed copies of my books. Let me know what questions you have. Thank you guys. God bless.